friends, welcome to the Kat Scrappiness YouTube channel. If you aren't a subscriber, we would love to have you subscribe and click that bell to get notifications every time one of us uploads a new video. I'm Kim and I am here to share a quick and easy trifold card using some of the new goodies released at the beginning of June. So I definitely will be playing with some part of the Oopsie Daisy release. And there is a stamp set, and this is a layering stamp set. I love layering stamp sets. They're my favorite. You get such great dimension. There's also a coordinating die set, and then really fun, you also can purchase a, I believe this is a 3 stencil set for, this is a layering Oopsie Daisy set, and the dies work with the stencils just as well as they do with the stamps. And I definitely am in the mood to stencil today, so I think I'm going to play with the stencil. I'm going to put the stamp set aside. I might play with that later. I also pulled out, just in case I want to use them, the new Foliage Die Set. I love this die set. I love the stitch detail that she designed in the middle of the leaves. I think it adds such a special touch. I mean, I have several foliage stamps or die sets, but none of them have that stitch detail. So I was really excited to see something a little bit different. I also pulled out both my layered bokeh stencils and my layered bubble stencils because I know I'm going to want some kind of background on my card when I make it, and I'm thinking I really am in the mood to just stencil today, and I'm not even in the mood to do anything fancy. I just want to be creative and do a little bit of stenciling. So I'm going to start out here with a card base. This card base is cut at 4 1/4 by 11, and I want to go ahead and score this, and let me think about this for a minute. So 5 1/2 will be 2 3/4. Yes, that will be 5 1/2. Okay, so I'm gonna score this, and notice that I have this so that the 11-inch side is along the top, and I'm going to score at 2 3/4. Okay, and then I'm going to flip this over and score again at 2 3/4 on the other side, just like that. So when I fold these in, they will meet in the middle. And we will use our daisies to actually decorate our front that way. And you can actually, most of the time you'll see it like this. I think I might use it like this, just like that, and then I can put a big message on the inside. Maybe I'll use it like this. I haven't decided yet. I always just seem to design my cards as I go along. So there's that. All right, I'm going to put that aside, and I want to start with, I have just a piece of white scrap paper. This is cardstock scrap paper, so it's a leftover piece from another project. Now, one really nice thing about this stencil, on the back of the stencil, she's got the directions about how these layer together, which is really nice. Like, it's always nice to get that little extra, and she even shows you there's a little blue, like a little blue outlined detail on one and a green on the other. That's what you should look for to actually layer them together. So I'll keep this out so that I can actually refer to it and you'll see what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to start with layer 1. There's 3 stencils all together. I always find it really fun to layer stencils together. And where did my, look at that, I actually put it away. I don't know about you friends, but I've been like really busy lately, and I feel like I'm getting projects done, but I'm not getting cleanup done. And I'm not gonna lie, cleanup is the last thing on my mind. Okay, I need to turn this way. And how I always like to do this, I can read this says, I don't know if you can see that, it says Stencil 1. So as long as I can read it and it's not backwards, then I'm good. And I've got some of this Spellbinders Best Ever Craft Tape. I quite like this for stenciling. So I'm just going to put this down on the top. And I've got some Concord and 9th colors. And I always start with my lightest ones. So I'm going to start with Buttercup and Sprout. I'm going to pull out, I have a brush set aside for green. And I'm going to go ahead down here and just lightly add some color to the leaf and the stem. And I love these Concord and 9th colors. I finally just got the re-inkers for these, and because they were on sale, the whole set was on sale. Kat Scrappiness sells this set of inks as a whole set, so that's pretty nice. I've got my yellow brush, and this time I'm using Buttercup, so I'm just going to give it a little love here. And then I'll do the same thing on the bottom. Oops, make sure I don't move that. There we go. So I can put those two inks aside. Then I'm going to take my next stencil. So let's go to layer 2. And if you want more than 2 flowers, you'll just do this a second time on a second sheet of paper. Okay, and you know what? These line up pretty easily. Like, I don't even have to look for the pieces that the instructions said to look for, because they line up quite nicely. So I'm using Stardust, and I think I'll take that's a little bit too red. I'm looking for a brush. This one doesn't look like it has anything on it. Let me see if this is going to be dark enough. Yes. So I'm going to add some color here. And so I'm using the darker color on the stencil that is coloring less of the flower. Just like that. Put this one aside. And I'm pulling out the parsley ink so I can finish the details on the leaves. I'm going to use the same green brush I used before. Just like that. And I'll put those two colors aside. I'm going to pull out the last stencil. And look at the detail I just got in there. It's amazing. Then I'm going to put this one in place. And I've got the wheat color. So I just need a brush that looks like it might have had a brown or a neutral. This one's got gray, so that'll work. Close enough. Okay, and I'm just going to add the wheat color. And there are no more spaces on that other flower, and there's no more spaces on the leaf and the stem. So I'm going to pull this off, and so pretty. Okay, so that can go back. And I'm just going to spritz my stencils with water and wipe them off with a paper towel. If for some reason the ink doesn't come off, I'll take it to the sink and just run it under the water on the sink. If you have to, you can always use a little bit of dish soap and give it a good rinse afterwards. I don't usually have to do that. Of course, I'm using dye-based inks, that's why water works. If you're using pigment inks, then you'll have to use some kind of pigment ink cleaner. And I am looking for my wire snips. I actually have two pairs of wire snips. Here we go. There we go. Kat Scrappiness wire snips. Perfection. So I'm just going to snip all the pieces. Now I always tape mine down because no matter how careful I am, they will slide in my machine. So I always tape dies down. Even if I'm die cutting a circle die on a plain piece of paper, I still go ahead and tape them down. Now, one of the things that I always like to do when I'm using die cuts is I like to have a little bit of magnet piece. Sorry, let me remove this adhesive. A little bit of magnet piece here, and this is where I will store my dies. I'm stingy with the magnet piece because they're not free. So I don't use a piece bigger than I need. And just like that, I'll use the sticky stuff that's still left on my Kat Scrappiness background, and then I'll put these in a plastic sleeve. And that is how I store them. So I've got my flowers made there. Okay, so there are 3 stencils here, and I'm only going to use 2 of them. And I would like to use, I'm going to just pick 2 layers. I like this one, and let me see how they layer together. I really like it when they overlap. So these 2 overlap nicely, and it looks like they have about the same number of stencils. I'm going to do this one, or holes, I mean dots. And I'm just going to use a piece of this tape, and I should have kept a piece of the tape from the dies that I just removed, and I pulled out grapefruit and sorbet. So I'm going to use, I want to use the darker one here, and I'm just going to pull out a brush which I hope is not too red, and I'm just going to give this a light. This is pretty red. I'm not sure what color I'm actually getting on here. I think stencils are one of my favorite tools to use because they're so cost effective. Okay, so that was sorbet, which is the darker of the 2 colors I'm using. And then I'm taking the lighter of the 2 colors, and I'm going to grab a piece of the tape that I have left over here, and I like the overlapping. Okay, so now I have grapefruit. So this is a slightly lighter version. All right, so when I take this off, now that's only 2 layers. There's a 3rd layer you could add if you wanted to, but I'm pretty happy with that. I love the texture I get, or the dimension that I get there, and I think those 2 colors together are super fun. I think they're going to be fun with the yellow that I've picked here. Foam squares I can add some dimension with. So the one that actually the stencil did the center, I'm going to put down first, and then I'm just going to add some liquid glue to the back of this. So I'm going to put this down here like this, and then I'm going to take this one and add a couple of pop dots on the back of this. And place this one down like this, just like that, so that they kind of intertwine and they'll hold the card closed, just like that. Okay, and I think these pop dots are too big, so let me grab, these are actually 3D foam squares. Let me grab one of these smaller ones. Just like that. And I put this one so that it sits above the other one because that center has some dimension now. This one is flat, so that's pretty fun. And I'll take this leaf and add a pop dot there, or a foam square. I should be calling these foam squares, right? And maybe I'll put a little green on this side. And I just love the way those dots overlap. I think those are super fun. So I just felt like this card needed just another little detail to finish it off. So I created this frame with some scrap glimmer paper that I had, and I used this A2 size frame set. That inner frame, by the way, works great around sentiments. I also used the Friendship Greeting stamp set. This is one of my favorite Kat Scrappiness stamp sets because the sentiments are fantastic. I love the variety of fonts, and of course I love florals. So I stamped out the I appreciate you in black and cut that out as well using the sentiment dies that Kat Scrappiness has. And I added the frame with some foam tape here, nice thin foam tape, and then I just snipped where I want the card to open with my scissors. I just kind of opened it with my finger behind it and then snipped along the edge of the card front, and then you can see those flowers interlock, and I've got a little bit of foam on that flower where they overlap, so I want to snip that off. And you can also add some of your Kat Scrappiness powder tool powder to that, the back of the foam, and the foam will not be sticky anymore. So I also added a little piece of that thin foam to the back of my sentiment, and I added that to the front of my card, and I'm being careful to make sure that the sentiment foam does not overlap the opening of the card. So I'm going to put it down carefully so that the foam is only on the left side of the card, and I want to make sure I get that straight. And I think this is such a nice sentiment to send to someone. And it just such a quick and simple card to create. You could make those layered bubbles any color that you want. You can use all 3 layers. You can just use 1 layer. I'm sitting here thinking, they would be so pretty in blue, but I was just in the mood. As soon as I saw that sorbet, I knew I wanted to use it. So I'm just putting 5 little dots of glue down with my liquid glue tube, and I'm adding some of these really pretty pastel green pearls. And you can see I poured them out in my triangle tray, and they come in a variety of sizes, which is really nice. So I can have some large ones, some small ones, some medium-sized ones, and that completes my card. So nice and simple, and I love it. I love the sparkle at the end. So thank you so much for watching, friends. Please give this video a thumbs up, and I'll have all the links below. Have a wonderful day.